Good morning, everyone. This is Kat Rendeck with Transition Cornwall Plus, and I'm here today with our final and third virtual Seedy Saturday. It is my pleasure to welcome you and to, we're getting a little bit of feedback. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna pause for a sec. So okay, let's just sort of start that a little bit over again. So yes, it's my pleasure to welcome you. It's been quite a webinar series. I'm thrilled to all of those who've been able to join us through this month of March for growing and gardening at home. I want to acknowledge that we have two special guests joining us to talk about gardening and family and connecting to earth throughout the next 1 hour. Before we get going, I want to take a quick moment to acknowledge that no matter where you are joining from, we are all gathering on traditional lands. And in particular, our guests and myself are gathering on traditional lands of and territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee people, and specifically the Mohawk people of Akwesasne. With that, I want to take a further second to take you back to our website. I've thrown the link into our chat, so if you are looking for it and want to find some of our resources, I will show that to you now. So just give me 1 minute. We're going to jump over. I know we've had so many people visiting our website over the last few weeks. We have tons of great resources on there. Today's webinar, Rochelle has put together a nice little list of resources, some videos, some coloring pages, some activity pages, and it's going to be just a really great resource for you as families as you're going through. If you are looking for some of our past resources, you're going to find those under the past webinars. And if you are still looking to buy local seeds, you're going to find all of our seed vendors listed here, again, under our website. You can visit their direct online shopping pages and support our local vendors. So with that, I want to bring us into family gardening, or gardening as a family, which is very exciting to me. This is always a highlight of Seedy Saturdays, seeing how children and youth and just multi-generationals engage with gardening and learning and sharing. So we have put together in the last few weeks a small activity kit that has, almost all of them have been distributed now. There's a couple lingering. So our Seedy fairies have been out delivering the last few days. So those who have submitted a application for one should have received one. I'm going to walk you through what's in there, and some of it's for today and some of it's for later. And if you haven't received yours yet, I promise it's coming, and we hope that you can enjoy it once it arrives. So inside you're going to find, it comes in a box like this. Inside you're going to find a variety of little seed packets of sort of all different types of seeds. Rochelle's actually going to touch on some of those today. A how-to garden guide for those seeds. You also have a little seed discovery kit. So this is going to play in a little bit to Rochelle's talk today, but there's also some instructions on the packaging. You also have a little pollinator wildflower seed mix, and that's going to play into the discussion today. So if you're, not necessarily everything is going to happen during the 1 hour here today, but we're hoping that you can, take the opportunity to do this in the next few weeks with your family. And then finally, we did supply a little bit of a growing medium for one of the activities that Rochelle's doing today. And yeah, so you can do any and all of this with stuff that you may already have at home. So if you don't have it with you today, or you didn't get one of the activity kits, that's okay. Rochelle's going to walk you through how to do this regardless. And then we are going to throw some other activities over the weekend up if you're looking for other things to do with your family in the next few weeks as well. So that's the activity kit. You're going to want to pull some of that stuff, perhaps with Rochelle. She'll prompt for that. And if not today, hopefully if you rewatch the recording later. Okay, so that's my little introduction. Thank you all. And I do want to turn it over to Rochelle and Kai, our special guests today, who are joining us and leading us in some wonderful activities. They're joining from a social enterprise called Family Earth here in Ingleside. And I will leave Rochelle to take the lead on that. So I think I will, yeah, there we go.
Great.
Rochelle, you're able to hear everything, you're good?
Great, thanks, Kat. Thanks for setting us up so nicely. So yeah, my name is Rochelle Johnston, and this is my son, Kai Van Rossum, and we're from Family Earth. So we're actually the co-founders of Family Earth. Family Earth was kind of born during a hike. How long ago was that hike when we first talked about Family Earth? Was it 2 years ago? Wow, gosh, long time ago. And so what we do at Family Earth is we help families heal their relationship with the natural world. And we do that by building different capacities. And these are capacities to help us adapt to climate change, but also to try and stop it as well. So one of the things that really kind of connects us to the earth in a massive way is food and plants. And so what I'm going to do in this workshop is Kai's told me that he is happy answering questions, that if I ask questions, he's going to answer them. But also, I just want to invite anyone who's listening here today, if you're listening live, or even if you're not listening live, you can answer some of the questions and in the comment section of the YouTube video. Okay, so I don't know how we usually do this, is we don't do a lot of telling people what to do. We sort of ask questions. And just a note to parents, this is kind of a great way to engage your kids in learning about things too. Instead of telling them, ask them some questions and see what they already know. So to start with, I just want to go over, so that's kind of our methodology today. So yeah, feel free. We're going to be, Kat's going to tell us what people report on. And then the other thing is I just want to go over, because we're going to be doing things and you can do it along with us. And so maybe we're going to go a little bit too fast during the live session, but if you can, you can listen back and play it back. So if you didn't get this totally cool kit that Kat put together, then we're going to tell you, you can either pick up some seeds from some of the seed vendors that Kat talked about, or we're going to tell you where you can maybe there's some seeds hiding around your own house that you don't realize are there. The other thing is you're going to need something to grow the seeds in. We're going to use something we got from the store. This is a seed starting, organic seed starting mix. But if that's not an option for you, you can actually do something by digging up some soil in your backyard. Did you know that? You could dig up soil in the backyard and use that for starting seed? No, is there anything you can do, or do you just plant stuff straight in that? You have to do anything first?
Water and plant the seeds.
Water and plant. But what might happen if you just watered and planted the seeds? What might come on? Weeds. Great. Yeah. So you might end up getting weeds. So what you can do is, if all you have to deal with is soil in your own backyard, what you can do is you can boil some water. And you put the boiling water in the soil, enough to cover it, and then you're going to have to let it drain and cool down. You don't want to cook your seeds, or else you end up making porridge or something. So, okay, so that's the other option if you can't get some soil from the seed or from the store. And then the other thing, you're going to need something to plant in. And again, you don't need to go to the store for that. We'll show you how you can plant in stuff. Some of the stuff you can plant in. Okay, but let's start out. So as I said, Family Earth is about us connecting with the natural world. So we're talking about one part of the natural world, pretty important part today, which is plant. So Kai, what sort of connections, what sort of ways are you connected to plant? Do you have any connections with plant? Do you have a favorite plant? What's your favorite plant?
Cactus.
Cactus. Do you have many cactuses here? No. Any other ways you're connected to plants? So there's favorite plant. So again, in the chat, if any of you put down your favorite plant. Other ways you're connected to plants. Are there any plants you like eating? Which one?
Vegetables.
Vegetables. Anyone in particular? Fruits. Great. Anything else? No. No. And are there any? Basil. Basil. Okay. Basil. Kat, is anyone else sharing some ways in which they're connected to plants?
Nothing's coming in yet.
Okay.
But I want to encourage people to, throw things into the chat. I will feed it back to Rochelle and Kai.
So the other way that we've discovered that a lot of people are connected to plants is actually, it's amazing, through our names. Now I was actually like Kat, I was sending out a lot of different feeds to people yesterday, and so I was writing down addresses, and it was amazing how many people's addresses had to do with plants, right? There was like Elm Road. Elm's a type of tree. Where do we live? Groves Road. A grove is like it's like basically a collection, like a small little planted forest of trees, right? What other ones was there? Marsh Road was another one. Marsh is a place where plants grow. Mango, there was somebody who lived on Mango Crescent. I was wondering if there's any mangoes on the street. My kids are really annoyed that we can't grow mangoes. Well, we can grow them, but they're probably not mangoes.
Well, Kai, I want to tell you, someone just threw in the chat that there's some native Canadian cactus options. So maybe there's some option for you to grow a cactus. I don't know. Mark is commenting, so maybe Mark can connect and provide some thoughts on that.
There's not a lot though. But the other thing is that my other son, how is Ewan connected to plants? My other son's name is Ewan. He likes playing them. But what about his name? What does his name mean?
Oh,
Ewan. Ewan means born of the yew tree. And Kat's got a picture of a yew tree.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people have flower or plant names or tree names.
Yeah, this is a
okay.
beautiful tree.
This
Throwing up a picture here.
This is a special tree. This tree isn't from Turtle Island. It's not from here. There is a variety that's from here, but the yew tree right there is from where my ancestors are from, which is Scotland and Ireland. And yeah, we named Ewan after the yew tree, and we named him after because it's a very magical and very powerful tree. It's part of the old religions of the part of the world where my ancestors came from, and so it was where people did their, instead of going into a church or a temple or a mosque, they actually gathered around a yew tree, and so people were really connected to it. And the other neat thing about some of these really important plants is they actually tell a lot of stories. And so the yew tree, because of how it grows, one of the neat things it does is it seems to never die. Because what happens is the branches get really long, and then they get long, they touch the ground, and then they start a new tree. And so it never dies. Every time the branches go down to the ground, they start a new tree. And so that yew tree, these yew trees are like amongst the oldest living things in the world. Anyway, so just to say, like, so plants, we can really be deeply connected with plants. They can be part of our religion, they can be part of our stories, and we can be connected to them for thousands of years. So but plants are also in our day-to-day lives, right? So they're kind of things that we kind of take for granted. So let's start with that. Okay, so first of all, everybody at home, I want you, if you're a kid, to get up, and I want you to go to your kitchen, and I want you to come back with seeds from your kitchen. See if you can find at least 3 different types of seeds. And while Kai is going to go do that, I'm just going to have a word to the parents very quickly while the kids go get seeds. Okay, on your marks, get set, go. Okay, great. Okay. Anyway, so Kai is going to go get some seeds. So I just wanted to say something to the parents who are here today, because I imagine that there's probably some. One of the things that when we do gardening workshops, and we're doing a gardening workshop right now with families, is we like to remind everybody, including the kids, that there's no right way to garden. Okay, you know, there might seem like there's a lot of rules to gardening, but they are like rules that get broken all the time. Okay. And so what that means is that when your children are trying things out, even if it's not the way you think they should garden, if you allow them to try out different ways of doing things, chances are they're going to learn something new. And as importantly, chances are you are going to learn something new as an adult as well. Okay, so it's much more powerful for kids to learn about gardening by being allowed to try and do things the way that they want to do things than it is to just teach them a whole bunch of rules, right? And again, like experienced gardeners will sort of, their answers will be like, it depends, or, you know, sometimes that's a good, is this right, Kat?
Yeah.
Like if I asked you, like, how do you, you know, like when you started tomato seed?
I would say right now, actually today. I hope everyone's starting tomatoes today.
Right, and so a lot of times part of it, you know, you might say, well, it depends, you know, it depends on, you know, it depends on where you live, right? So anyway, so the thing is that gardening is super complex, right? There's a lot of different, like scientists would say, there's a lot of different variables, and there's so many different variables that it makes having hard and fast rules really tricky because there's so many things going on at the same time. And the other thing is, what kids are natural scientists, they experiment, and gardening is the best way, or not the best way, but an incredibly good way for them to practice those science skills. The other thing is that, you know, there are probably adults listening who are really into gardening and have, you know, are really good gardeners and get really excited about it. And you may kind of want to do your garden the way you want to do it. And you might be afraid about your kids coming in and messing things up. And that's okay, right? It's okay for you to have your own garden as an adult. Don't you think? The adults should have their own spaces too sometimes, maybe. Anyway, so what you might want to do is basically create a space in your garden, or create certain activities in your garden, which we call yes spaces, right? Where you don't sort of say, your kid comes and says, oh, I've got a gummy bear, can I plant this? And instead of saying, no, that's not going to grow, or it's going to rot and it's going to spoil all my other plants, you just say, sure, go ahead, let's see what happens. Right? I mean, obviously you want to have some limits around safety, but like the more you can have a yes space, the more space it is for learning.
That's never going to happen to people like you.
Yeah, I think that's really good to acknowledge, because there are a lot of, especially if you're a new family to gardening, you know, you're gonna feel like you need to follow all the rules. And let's actually just have some fun, and let's engage with nature. Let's learn from nature as a family, and that's all part of that experience. Yeah. So thank you for encouraging that, because sometimes it goes, or you make an assumption that everyone's on that page, but no, we're there today.
Anyway, sorry, I don't know if you heard what Kai said. Kai said no kid is ever going to plant a gummy bear because they're going to.
Oh.
But that goes to like one of the good things about gardening, which is.
Well, at the end, like kids will want to put their parents like stuff in the ground.
Well, sometimes you see that with little kids. They experiment with planting with different things. And we had one friend of ours, and when she was about 3, she without telling her parents, she found some popcorn seeds. And you know, and most people think, oh, things in your kitchen, they can't grow. But they've been treated with some sort of heat process. They're not going to sprout. And so she planted them. And of the 5 she planted, 3 of them grew very tall corn stalks, and 1 of them grew corn, which is not bad. And she did this.
No, that's great. And for just experimenting.
Yeah, and her parents had no idea that was going to work. Okay, so what did you come up with? So Kai's got some stuff in the kitchen. Can you show us? Celery seeds. Celery seeds. Did you know this is what the celery is like this big thing? Are these actually seeds? Let's open them up. We can look at them. Cool. Oh, they're tiny. Cool. Okay. They're very tiny, by the way. What do they smell like?
Spicy.
Spicy. Do they smell like celery?
It's not like rotten soup.
Like rotten soup. Okay. What else did you come up with? Ooh, black peppercorns. Were there a lot of seeds in our spice cupboard?
I'm not sure which ones, because there were like tiny grains that look like sand.
Okay, so tiny grains. So is that kind of how a lot of seeds look?
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon. Oh, right. Okay, what is cinnamon?
It's like a piece of a seed.
Is it a piece of a
like
seed?
a branch.
Piece of yeah, like it's like the bark, right? Yeah. Cool. And what else did you bring? What's this? This is
Bread.
Okay.
There's seeds on the side.
There's seeds on the side. Is that the only place that there's seeds?
No, this is made out of seeds.
Ah, did you guys know this? That bread is made out of seeds. And this is kind of the cool thing about seeds. Like bread is made out of seeds. What else is made out of seeds? These are called staples, by the way. Bread, rice.
Oh,
Right, rice is made out of seeds.
Cake.
Cake. Cake is made out of seeds. Awesome. So anything made out of wheat. Wheat is a seed. And this is kind of what's one of the things that's special about seeds. What do they have in them?
Seeds.
Seeds have seeds in them. But what's inside? What is seeds like? What is their characteristic? One of the things. Why do we eat them?
Because they're yummy.
Because they're yummy. Awesome. What else?
They're soft.
They're soft. Okay.
They can be made into like the grocery together.
Okay. Yeah. Great. But why do you come home and this is like what you are desperate for, right?
Yeah.
Why are you desperate for it?
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry. You need energy. Okay, so this is like seeds are like one of the most important things for our diet, actually, right? And many of the staples in many parts of the world, like staples are like the basically kind of the center of our. Oh, you putting celery? Oh. Remember
What are we just saying about experimenting?
Yummy.
Okay. So this is where my advice kind of comes back to bite you. So you can experiment with that. Okay. Okay. So, but I have a question because the people in the chat, like the kids in the chat, is there anything you notice about the seeds? Is there anything you notice about the seeds? You want to eat the bread? Okay. Is there anything you notice about the seeds? As you see, oh, by the way, do you see what Kai is making a mess? But you know why I'm not freaking out? We're in our dining room, by the way. But we don't have any carpet, and I have a plastic thing on the table. Okay, so this is kind of a hint. Okay, most people when they start their seeds indoors, it's too cold to be outside, so we do it inside, and we can cover the table. And the other thing is the way we're doing gardening, we're using everything that's organic, and what that means is we're not using any chemicals, which means. And as long as I'll give you like the one kind of provision, one thing you do have to be careful about, but which means it's actually safe to do it in the places that you eat. Okay, you can just wash this down with soap and water, but it's actually as long as you're not using any chemicals, and this is super important with gardening with kids, right? Because kids they eat things, and we all know, right? They put their fingers in their, their fingers in their mouths, and like small children will try stuff and they will try soil and like that. So if you're gardening with things that are organic, then it really takes a big worry out of the parents, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great thought. Yeah.
And one of the things when we were doing seed starter mix, the one thing you do have to be careful about is that some of the organic fertilizers that we use can have bacteria in it, right? Because sometimes they have things like manure in it. And so for example, we found a seed starting mix. It's organic, but it's instead of using manure, it uses kelp, right, from the ocean seaweed. Okay, so when we did that because we wanted to make sure we didn't have to freak out about washing cans.
Yeah. No, that's a good. So reading figuring out what you're actually bringing into your house, into your eating spaces, if you're going to try to do some of this with kids at home.
Yeah.
Great.
But again, if you can do organic stuff, then it means that you don't need to, because you eat words nearly so much.
Yeah, that's perfect. So we've had a couple comments come through. People are finding mustard seeds. People are finding other like poppy seeds and grains. So yeah, I think one thing I want to mention is that those who did get the activity kit, that seed discovery kit they're all things that you would find in your pantry. So you're going to find things like chickpeas, and as Rochelle was saying, you're going to find popping corn, you're going to find some kidney beans, rice, so things that you might not think of as a seed because you think of it as a food, but they're one and the same. And so we're just hoping that you can start to look a little differently at seeds and food and what the roles they play in your life.
Yeah. And as people are looking at it, can you tell me, like, what are some of the things you notice about the seed? Like, if you put them in your hand, what are some of the things you notice about them? What do you notice about the peppercorns and
They smell.
They smell. Some of them have smells. Anything else?
Are
they all the same size?
You know,
No, some of them are different sizes, right? So the celery seed is much smaller.
no,
Mm,
no,
peppercorn.
not all celery seeds. Celery seeds are the same size.
Oh.
Some are bigger than others.
Why do you think that? Yeah, so
Because they're cut in.
oh yeah, so some of these have been sort of ground up a bit. Anything else you know?
Actually, all of them.
Well, look at the seeds on the top of the bread. Are they all the same color?
No,
No.
they're white and black.
Some of them are white, some of them are black. Yeah. And some seeds are really big. Oh, here's some other seeds here. Here's some seeds. These are lentils, and we're going to talk about what we can do with lentils and other beets. So these are quite a bit bigger than your celery seed, right? Our lentil seeds. And then there's also like some. Could anyone in the chat know or Kai? What are some of the really big seeds that we have? I lost Kai. And this is actually very
Popcorn.
Is popcorn really big when you pop it? This is very when you do stuff with kids, right? Is okay, and my kids too. Sometimes
We're asking a lot for a full hour, I understand.
Kai, do you have any under the table? Kai, do you have any ideas? Some big seeds? Like, what are some of the biggest seeds you know about? What's your papa's favorite? One of his favorite food?
Rabbit.
No, yeah, rabbit. But what is his favorite? What is his favorite vegetable?
Acorn.
Acorn. An acorn is really big, right? Any others? Which one's this big?
Oh, lemon.
No, lemons have smaller seeds. Avocado, massive seeds. Okay, so they can be different sizes. Okay, so Kai, can you come here? I need you to come and tell me what's
I'll stand here.
No, I need you right here. Okay, he's not. Okay, I'll have to ask the other kids this question then. Okay, they come.
Oh, she's gonna say
No. Okay, so what you guys at home? What's inside of seeds?
tiny baby plants.
Kai says tiny baby plants. Anyone else in the chat? What's inside of a seed?
Nothing's coming through yet. But
Okay. Can you put up the picture we have? There's
yeah.
a picture.
There we go.
Okay, cool. So now I'm curious at home what you guys think this looked like. And Kai was giving you a little bit of a clue. So this is a bean seed. And you know, if you actually soak a bean in water overnight, you can pry it open if you've got long fingernails, or with carefully with a knife. And this is what if you look really carefully, you can see inside of it. Okay. Now when Kat, what do you think it looks like? Does it remind you of anything?
Well, the little leaves, and I think we discussed how it's a lot like a womb.
Yeah, it looks a lot like a womb, right? And even like the names of some of the things, so there's some of the names on there, right? Like the embryonic root and the embryonic leaves, right? And that's the same way we used to describe an embryo, like forming inside of, you know, somebody's womb, right? So this is sort of that grows into being a baby, right? So it's kind of cool. Now, beans are not all seeds are shaped like beans. Beans do look a lot like the shape of a womb, but it's kind of amazing that even like when plants are, you know, tiny, and when we are tiny, we kind of resemble each other in sort of an interesting sort of way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had kids say really cool things to me, like a seed is the essence of the plant. And then the other thing, actually it's not in the links, but I can share it with you if you like. So Kat was saying that we're on Haudenosaunee territory right here. And Rowan White is a Haudenosaunee seed saver. She saves seed. She's from Akwesasne, and she talks about seeds carrying memory. And other people use words like stories, right? So that inside the seed are all the stories that are needed to make a plant, right? So this is like it keeps the stories of the plant inside of it. And then the other cool thing she talks about is that the seeds that we save and that we plant and that we cultivate actually represent kind of the, you know, like the combination of our stories as human beings and our ancestors kind of combining with the stories of the plants, right? And if you think about it, like we've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. We've been telling stories together with plants. We've been helping each other. And if we save our seeds, especially kind of our ancestral seeds, then we can pass those stories on to the future. But we can't do that unless we keep planting, right? If we stop this connection now, then our grandchildren are not going to, they're not going to be connected, right? We will lose these stories if we lose these seeds. So for example, some of the tomato seeds that we're planting at Family Earth and growing families, we're using heirloom seeds, which are some of these seeds that our ancestors have preserved and kind of, and they've come to sort of, they've saved seeds that they really love and they really care about. And now we're passing those seeds on to people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Kai's taking a bathroom break. If you need to take a bathroom break, pause, go and do that. If you need to stretch out, go move, go do that. What do you guys think that seeds need to grow? Anyone? What do seeds need to grow? Is anyone putting in the chat?
There's a bit of a delay with the chat, but I think one of the, just to go on the seed, back to the picture of the seed, as we ask, what do seeds need to grow? Leave that with our audience. It kind of goes back to what you were saying before. The seeds have so much food within them, right? So they're nourishing their own, I'm just gonna bring the picture back up. They're nourishing their young seedlings, right? And they have so much food source in there. And then that's actually the food source that we are taking advantage of as well when we eat them as grains, or we eat them as bean, in a chili, or we make bread from wheat, and it's, I don't know what age I was when I really understood what it is that I'm eating of the seed. What is that nourishment? And it's really the plant seedling nourishment that we're also, working, optimizing, I suppose. And so I think that's kind of an interesting thing to think about and pass on sooner rather than later to children, is that that relationship that we're also having with future plant generations as well. That I don't know, it's all kind of part of it. But as I was looking at that image, that came to me as well, of such a large portion of that is food for a plant, and so much of our life and our existence is also around our food, and really recognizing that shared relationship.
Yeah, and relationship, and then like one of the values we try to teach at Family Earth is reciprocity, right? So this is the interesting thing. So the foods give us all of their energy, and what do we do in exchange?
Yeah.
We save the seeds and we plant them so that they will then, they will then grow, right?
Yeah,
so
reproduce.
We help the plant, plants help us. Like we help them reproduce, and we feed them, we water them, we take care of their soil, and then they take care of us, right?
Yeah.
So it's this the kind of circular relationship. I help you, you help me. I help you, you help me, right? So that's really powerful.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's a beautiful relationship, I think, that can be highlighted and celebrated.
And so one of the things, so one of the interesting things about seeds is they actually have a lot of the energy that they need in them to get going, to start, and to grow quite big, actually. And we're going to just look at that right now. But they need something to start growing. Anyone in the chat want to guess? What do they need? What do seeds need?
Oh, we're getting nuts are yummy seeds too, but not nutrients.
Okay, so the seeds actually have a lot of nutrients inside of them to get started, but this is one of the things that they can't get started without, which is water. Okay, so like the whole saying, water is life. Seeds would agree, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to start these seeds. Okay, so you will probably, if you have lentils in your kitchen, and you can try this with anything of the seeds in your discovery kit and see what happens. I'm not sure if all of them will work with, but see what happens. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these lentils and I'm going to cover them with water, and I'm going to leave it. Okay, I'm going to fill this jar. It's about like a third full. I'm going to leave it for about a day. Like I'll do it in the morning. I'm going to come back and check at dinner time, about 8 hours, and then I'm going to do this. I just use my hand. You can use like a strainer or something like that. I just pour out the water to keep the seeds inside, like this. Okay, so the seeds are going to be kind of a little bit mushy because they've been sitting in the water for a while. And they're going to be nice and damp. And you know what I do? I just leave them like this. Or the other thing you can do if you want to be fancy, I mean, you can take, I don't know, you can take a piece of paper towel. Anyone know why I don't put, why don't I put the top back on the container? Because what else do seeds need? They need air, right? So if I put the top back on the container, it doesn't give them enough air. Well, they're probably okay, but eventually they're gonna suffocate. So yeah, so I just put something on top that can breathe, and then try it and see what happens, and see if you can get them to grow. And when they grow, after a few days, check them out, see what they taste like. See if they look like something you might get at the grocery store and pay quite a bit of money for. And the other thing I see, you see what I just did here? I've seen people who spend like $20, $20 to do what I just did here. Yeah. But all you need is a jar and some very cheap dry lentils. You can do these with some other beans. You can do these with chickpeas, dried chickpeas, not the canned ones. The ones in cans won't work. You can't cook them. They have to be uncooked. Okay. Yeah. Give that a shot. And the cool thing about it is you'll get to see what usually happens underground where you can't see. Yeah.
Well, so one thing for those who have the kit, there's the Discovery Seed Kit. We suggested you could sort of put them flat and keep them moist in a container, but putting it all into a jar like that, there's a mix of seeds. So you could see which ones sprout first. You could maybe put a bet if you're, with siblings, which one you think is going to sprout first. So it could be, oh yeah, so Rochelle's going to show there. So, there's a lot of different ways to play with seeds, and really that's for you as a family to decide.
Yeah, some people do it this way, and what they do it is you don't want it to get dry. As soon as it gets dry, they stop growing. Okay, so that's like what I'm struggling with right now. I've got seeds starting, and I have to remember to water. You don't want to fill it with water because then they don't get air. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So anyway, the last thing that seeds need, they need nutrients, which to begin with they have in the inside them, and when they get a little bigger, they get them from the soil. They need water, they need air, they need nutrients, and then there's one other thing they need. Kat, can you show us? We've got a little for those of us who are reading.
Yeah. Yep, I've put it up there now.
Right, and the one on the top is light. Okay. Now, when they're starting, some seeds need light, but many seeds don't need light. Okay, so you can see. Try this in the dark and see what happens, and see if it works or not. Okay, and then maybe you put one in the dark and one in the light and see if it makes a difference. Okay,
so that's a fun experiment.
Okay, so let's see. So today we're going to be planting two things. We're going to be planting flowers, and we're going to be planting vegetables, because this is such a wonderful combination of things. Okay, so first of all, Kat, do you know, or does anyone in the chat know why we are going to grow? So we're going to go specific types of flowers. We're going to grow wildflowers. And these are flowers that are found in nature, and flowers that kind of grow well by themselves. Does anyone know why we grow wildflowers? Why it's a good idea?
Let's wait for them to catch up. One thing to talk about maybe wildflowers before what they're for is that there's hundreds of different types of wildflowers too. So when we talk about wildflowers, it's really the whole collection of wildflowers that can grow in our region.
Yeah.
Someone says they can repel bugs and animals, and they help bees.
Yes.
Yeah,
so, right.
These are bugs, but yeah.
So some of them attract bugs, and it's interesting, some of the ones that actually repel them by attracting other bugs and animals that are the predators. Right? It's very complicated, right? But yes, awesome.
Yeah, attracting bees. We've got kind of pollinator themes. I think that's what we're coming to.
Right. There's a couple of the reasons why it's great to plant wildflowers. They take care of themselves really well, which is awesome. They often don't need a lot of water, right? So if you plant them in the right place, if you plant them in the place that they're most comfortable living, then you really need to do very little for them. And they are adapted to the amount of water that's required. The other thing is that they live in balance with other things in nature really well, right? So if we're trying to encourage nature in our backyards, right? If we're trying to like encourage more plants and animals and insects in our backyard, these flowers, and I think your wildflower has a mix of couple different types of wildflowers. Ones that are indigenous or ones that are from here, and you also have some ones that are from imported from other parts of the world. But especially if we plant, and there's becoming a big movement of people trying to plant more stuff that's actually native to here, because that's what nature is used to, and it's what nature, the animals and the insects and the plants, all of them, they're used to the plants that have been here for millions of years, right? And have evolved together. Okay. So let's.
Someone said they also look beautiful, so I want to just put that in there.
Well, obviously. They are, right? And I mean, I think that's, and I think this is kind of the neat thing. They look beautiful, but they also, I don't know, they like, yeah, like they're kind of also special now, because it's become less and less common to plant wildflowers, and I find that when I see them and when other people see them, they actually look super special as well. Okay, so the cool thing about planting wildflowers is we can do it without using a lot of energy. So what we're going to start with is some garbage. Okay. Go to your recycling bins or your garbage. I always am confused about whether or not these are recyclable. Are these recyclable, Kat, in Cornwall?
Yes, they are now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Okay, go to your recycling bin and get some of these clamshell things, or you can also get things like this, right? Like some plastic jugs, or you can get some pop bottles or some big milk jugs or water jugs. Okay, and this is what you need. This is great for planting. Okay, there's holes in mine already. Okay, and there's holes in the bottom, there's holes in the top. If yours don't have holes in them, you would definitely want to have help with an adult from this, making some holes with. You could do it with some scissors or a knife. You could also burn some holes by heating up a piece of metal with a candle. All of these are things that can be really a good thing to do if you're old enough and if you've got some supervision. Okay, and so then we're going to start with some soil. So these guys get some fancy soil. Starting mix. You can do stuff from your garden if you want and put it in boiling water first. But this is, I want my wildflowers to do that. So I'm going to put it in here. Oh, I always forget this. There's holes in the bottom of mine, so don't do this on the table. Put it on a plate or a tray or something.
Oh, no, okay.
I have definitely dribbled everywhere on my table. Okay, and I'm going to mix my soil. I tend to like to mix it in another bowl. I have a little bucket here. I often just use a mixing bowl for my kitchen. Again, because I wash it afterwards before I make the cake out in it. But because I'm using very safe organic mix, I'm not very fussed about it. But some people find, prefer a garden bucket. So this is my garden bucket. Okay, and so I'm going to mix my soil, and this is like, yeah. This is fun, okay? So mix along with me, okay? Take your soil, if you've got it in your kit, and add water. Now be careful, don't add too much water. Check it as you do it. It doesn't work so well if you use a spoon, okay? So the best way to do this is to get your hands, right, Kat? It's best to get your hands dirty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now I can't, but I will.
So Kat, how do I know that I have enough water and not too much water? Kat knows a lot more about this than I do. That's why I'm asking.
Definitely not an expert, but I find it's it holds together, but it's not crumbly anymore. But but it's also not gloopy and kind of falling through your hands.
Yeah, like I've heard this too. I've learned this happens. close with it, right? Is that right, or is that too wet? Kat? So you can kind of make it.
It might be a little wet, but I think with wildflowers, it's okay because they like the moisture.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing you can do is you can always squeeze it out, right? You can also, if I've got a little bit pooling in the bottom, I can pour it out. I'm going to do that. I'm going to pour it back into the water thing. Note to parents at home, don't then take the bucket and wash it out. Don't pour this stuff down your sink, okay? Okay. It's a great science experiment, but it can be an expensive science experiment. Well, because the stuff here is very cool. It's amazing, actually. It absorbs so much water. So it'll go down your skin and it'll absorb water and it'll expand and expand and expand and it'll clog up your pipes. So, okay, so I'm going to stick it in here and I'm going to fill it up and I'm going to make it quite full. Okay, so those of you who have a limited amount of soil, you might want to do this with soil from your backyard so you don't use it all. And I'll probably need a little bit more soil. Okay. So I'm going to do it. Yeah, that's pretty good. And you want to leave enough room for the plants to grow, right? Like this. Okay, like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your seeds. Okay. And the seed mix you have to be covered with soil, right? You probably, do they have enough seeds that they could plant a couple like this?
Probably 2 to 3. Yeah, like there's quite a bit.
Okay, so you sprinkle it around, and you probably, mine ended up clumping up, so I'm moving it around. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put more here. I'm going to do it dry. I'm going to put dry stuff on top like that. And then you know what I'm going to do? Oh dear, I lost my assistant. He was supposed to go get me my spray. I've got a spray bottle, and I'm going to spray.
Great! Yes.
Okay. I'm going to spray the top. So I put dry stuff on the top, but then spray bottles are great because it means you don't overwater. So, and plus they're super fun, right? And then you can have,
it's like an indoor water gun in March.
Okay. So there's one, and then we've got one more thing we're planting, right? Kat, yeah.
Do you want to move? Yeah, that one. Yeah, because this is going to be great.
Okay, cool. So the second thing we're going to do is tomatoes. Okay. And why are we starting tomatoes now, Kat?
Well, so they need a little bit more time to get going before it gets warm outside. And so we like to start them. Gardeners in this area of Canada like to start them around the end of March, early April. And we've kind of identified a variety that's going to start relatively quickly and get going, and it'll be fun to watch. I think it's a cherry tomato, so it should be pretty youth and children friendly. Cherry tomatoes are the best, just to go steal them out of the garden midsummer. And the rest of the seeds, I should note maybe the rest of the seeds that were provided in the kit, we would not recommend that you start them inside. They're things that you can start directly in the soil. And if you want a little bit more information about that, webinar 2, Jamie and Matt covered some of that, and but we can also take your questions for that as well. But it's really only the tomatoes that we would suggest starting now.
Okay. So one of the cool ways to start tomatoes, again, so good for the environment, is your toilet rolls. Okay. So and to start tomatoes, you're going to need to put these in bigger pots when they get bigger. But to start, really small pots are good for them. And these are great because you can even just transplant them with these on, although sometimes they like to. Okay, and so they don't have bottoms, but that's okay. It's okay. Okay, you can make bottoms if you want. You can kind of fold it in.
Yeah, I've seen people kind of maybe do 2 slits and just close the slits on the bottom if they want the bottoms. But you have it in a tray there, so it's not going to get messy.
I think it's fine. And so I'm going to fill these up, and then Kat, what do I do? How do you plant your tomatoes?
So sometimes I will soak them for 24 hours first, the seeds. Depends on how wet the soil is. So you've got a lot of moist soil there, so I think it's going to be fine. And then I just stick them in into the middle, so 1 seed per pod.
Okay, like what? You like stick them to the bottom?
Oh, no. Probably about 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters below the soil.
Okay, so I also have, yeah, that's what my package says too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, these are tiny. So I find this, you can, if I was a kid, I could probably pick these up, but I'm an adult and I've got big clumsy fingers. So I put them on my finger like this. Okay, and so I tend to do it like, so if you've got a small finger, I would do it all the way to the first, like the first little bend. My finger's a little bit bigger, so I'm gonna do it halfway down. And then I just stick it in, and you can either do the little, but I just kind of fold it over like that, right?
Yep.
Is that okay with that? Okay. And I'm gonna, just to be careful, or just to be sure that I'm gonna put 2. Okay, I'm gonna put 2, 1, 2 in each thing. Okay.
Yep.
And my soil, I don't know, just for fun, I'll probably miss it on the top. Okay, I'll just do a few more. Ooh. Oh no, 3. That's okay. It's okay to have 3.
That's okay. 1 will win out. 1 will be really strong.
Okay, great. So there we go. So we planted our tomatoes. Now what do we do, Kat, with this?
So,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, are you misting? You're
Yeah, I will miss.
okay. So then you're going to cover, right, with your little clamshell, which is great to keep a little bit of air, but the moisture in.
This is like, yeah, great. Okay. So so I've got, and then I've got to do something with these guys. So what am I going to do with this one? Where am I going to put this? Can I tell you where I'm going to put it? I'm going to throw it outside. This is kind of funny. But these are wildflowers, and I'm going to put it outside. And I'm going to put it in a place that kind of gets a little bit of sun, but not too much sun, because if it gets too much sun, what's going to happen?
Dry out.
And then, yeah, and cook it kind of too,
Yeah.
right? It probably won't dry it out, right? Because it's like I haven't found they dry out, but I have cooked them before.
Okay.
And they haven't dried. Okay, so don't put them full sun, but kind of half. Check it out. And you know what? You don't actually need to water it. This is cool. If you see, you know, droplets forming on the top of it, you don't need to water it. Okay.
Yep.
But if you don't see any droplets forming on top of it, then you do need to water it. Okay. And these are pretty tough. You know, even if it's cold outside, you know, they should be fine. Some of the seeds in your package are a little bit more vulnerable, and you might want to bring it in if it freezes again. But some of them are really tough, and they're totally fine to be frozen. Okay. So yeah, anyhow, so that will just be outside. And the cool thing about this is you don't need to pay for any lights. You don't need to pay for any containers. You don't even hardly need to water it at all. And then when they start getting big, just pop the top off. Okay, you open the top like this. Okay, when they outgrow their container. Now these ones, we're gonna keep inside because they're a little bit. The tomatoes are really not from here, right? They're from like much warmer places further south.
They're tropical. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're gonna stay inside. If you have fancy grow lights, you can put them under those. We've got some fancy grow lights. And in a week, this is what happened. Okay, so those are little baby tomatoes, and I've included. Kat's going to share with you a baby tomato song, a little tomato song. Okay,
Yeah.
and it'll teach you a lot more than we will actually about tomatoes. And it's a song, and it's great. So yeah, so those are your two seeds. And anything else, Kat? that we need to make sure people know about?
Well, I think you've covered sort of all the great activities that families can be doing now. I think the wildflowers, the seed discovery, planting tomatoes. I guess maybe one thing I could say is if you weren't comfortable doing tomatoes, or maybe you've already planted tomatoes and you want to save the seeds for next year, you could try doing the little pots with the lettuce that was provided, because that will come up really quickly and that's really fun to see. And that you would just sprinkle a lot of seeds sort of in one pot. There's also peas. So they come up really fast. So if you want instant gratification gardening, I would say put a few of the peas in. You could try a couple different seeds, see what comes up faster or slower. It's a little too early to then maybe put that into your garden, but it's still a good learning experience. So if you want a bit of a variety activity, that's an option for you. And we look forward to, I know like Rochelle and I are both part of our Transition Cornwall Facebook group, the Edible Growing group. And if you take photos or have questions about any of this and want to share it with the group, that's going to be a really great space to do it. And if you want to share any of your stories and experiences with Rochelle, you can also connect with her through Family Earth. So I don't know, that's kind of where I want to leave it. I think this was fantastic, and there's lots of really lots of different ways to explore seeds. I think that's what I'm taking away, is that there's no right or wrong answer, and there's lots of different ways that we interact with seeds and nature, and it should be fun and educational and for everyone.
Can I invite families that if COVID allowing, we're going to be doing, we're doing some online workshops right now, but we're going to be doing face-to-face workshops in Ingleside if we're allowed to with COVID outdoors. When, hopefully if we get through this next little bit. So if people are interested in sort of staying, like joining us for that and staying updated about those workshops, please join it for our newsletter at www.familyearth.earth.
Yeah, here, let me throw.
And we'll be doing more workshops like this for all families, all members of the family. So it's good. It's good, even if you're an experienced gardener and are trying to figure out how to garden with your kids, or if you're less experienced and you're learning alongside your kids. It seems to have been working well for both. And Kai's back. Look what I did.
Yeah.
Are you happy? And this is so normal. And yeah, so kids will engage and they'll disengage. And then hopefully they'll engage again.
And that's okay. It's a lifelong relationship of engagement. Maybe that's a good way to think of it. So this was wonderful. I think if we'll maybe leave it there. I've thrown up your website for people to find a little bit more information about you and your work. And as you said, you have lots of upcoming activities, so people should tune in if they're interested, or stay tuned in if they're interested in any of that in-person stuff. Hey, Kai. And so at this, it kind of brings us to the end of our Seedy Saturday experience, our virtual Seedy Saturday. I want to thank everyone who's been involved for the last 3 weeks, but also in supporting so our various sponsors, and which would be Canadian Organic Growers and Eastern Ontario Agri-Food Network. Also the umbrella support of the Social Development Council, always there for us. And, also all of our viewers and all the people who've submitted questions and engaged with our expert gardeners. It's really been an enjoyable experience for me. And I know for a lot of the people in the community, there's been a lot going on and lots of energy, excitement. I'm really getting excited for spring now. I think, as I said in our first webinar, Seedy Saturday is kind of the first step towards the spring summer growing season for so many of us, and this was really a great way for all of us to engage and take that seasonal shift together. I want to let you know that all of these videos, they've been recorded. They're going to be forever videos on the Transition Cornwall website, but also the Transition Cornwall YouTube page. So if you want to rewatch anything, they're going to be there for you. And our Seedy Saturday website will stay there. So if you're still looking for seeds or want to connect with any of our speakers, you're going to be able to find all that information. And if you still have questions moving forward, we are going to be answering those in our Edible Growing Facebook group. And so you'll find that on Facebook. You can also always message Transition Cornwall. We are here for you. We are your community, and we hope you have a wonderful growing season. So that's all from me. Thank you, Rochelle, again, for taking the time walking us through. I feel like playing in the mud and getting my hands a little dirty today with some wildflowers and tomatoes, so thank you. And Kai, special thank you. It was nice to have you on camera today.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, hope you guys have fun.
Thank you. You too. Happy spring.
Happy spring.